Hi, Room 26 kiddos. Welcome to our first snow day, our first virtual snow day. If you weren't in the Zoom earlier this morning, I have a story that I wanted to record for you. And we didn't have the Watsons go to Birmingham because I left the book at school. So we're going to go ahead and finish reading our chapter book when we get back to school. But today, I wanted to read a beautiful storybook called Zora Hurston and the Chinaberry Tree. But y'all notice what I'm wearing? I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing a crazy winter hat that I had to borrow from the girls to keep my ears warm. And I've got a scarf on. And if y'all go outside, I hope y'all are all bundled up too, because outside we even had snow this morning. We had some snow flurries and some ice, and everything's frozen over. It's like a winter wonderland outside. So I hope you all are staying warm and staying safe. And I can take this off because luckily we haven't lost power here, so we still have our heat. So thankfully, I'm nice and warm at home. If you go outside, I hope that y'all dress very warm and put on scarves and put on hats and gloves. This is our chance to wear all of our fun winter clothing. But our story for today is Zora Hurston and the Chinaberry Tree. It's a beautiful story and has a lot of beautiful pictures in it. And it's written by William Miller and illustrated by Cornelius Van Wright and Ying Wahoo. See? Even before we get to the story, it's just pretty paintings. It's a little girl, maybe about your age, climbing in a tree. Zora Hurston loved the Chinaberry tree. Her mother taught her to climb it one branch at a time. From the tree, she could see as far as the lake and as far as the horizon. Zora dreamed of fishing in the lake, catching brim and catfish in the moonlight. Zora dreamed of seeing the cities beyond the horizon and of living there one day. So she would climb the tree and she could see all kinds of things. But only boys fished in the lake. Only men traveled to the cities. Zora watched with envy as the wagons rattled down the dusty roads. See, when Zora was a little girl, a lot of girls didn't get to do those kind of fun things that she wanted to do. It must have been a long time ago because look, they have wagons and dusty roads. But Zora only listened to her mother. She taught Zora that everything had a voice. The trees and the rushing wind, the stars and the midnight sky. She taught Zora that the world belonged to her, even the lake and the far-off horizon. Look at that beautiful porch. She's sitting there with her mother. Her mother told her everything has a voice. She followed boys to the edges of campfires, listened while their fathers sang about John Henry, a man so strong he swung a 9-pound hammer from dawn till dusk. She learned about Death, the great square-toed one that lived in the West. Death sat on a platform made of palm leaves and ruled with a sword in his hands. Zora learned about Africa, the place where she and her people came from. In Africa, they had been kings and queens, builders of cities that stood for thousands of years. They worshipped gods who ruled the sky, the mountains and rivers, the stormy sea. See all the guys at the campfire telling the stories? And look, can you see Zora? Zora is sitting there listening to all these wonderful stories. Some of the stories went as far back as when her family was in Africa. One morning, Zora's mother didn't feel well. She told Zora not to worry, that soon she'd be well again. She told Zora to go outside and play and to climb her favorite tree, but Zora couldn't play. She saw how tired her mother was. She saw the pain in her eyes. Day after day, Zora sat beside her mother's bed, telling her the stories she had heard inside the campfires. Her mother smiled and asked Zora to always remember what she had learned. Stories, she said, kept their people alive. As long as they were told, Africa would live in their hearts. And Zora promised her to remember. There's Zora. There's Zora's mama. Zora's mama's not feeling well. That's why she's in bed. And she said, as long as you remember the stories of your family, those stories will always, and those people will always be alive in your hearts. Zora's mother slowly got worse. Men and women came to sit up with her through the long, hot nights. The town doctor came. He gave her pills and shook her head and walked sadly away. Even the root doctor tried his magic. He rubbed the snake oil and the mustard salve on her face. He burned a tall white candle beside her bed, but nothing worked. Zora was sitting in the parlor when her father told her she would not see her mother again. That's the doctor coming, trying to fix Zora's mama. Zora felt as if she had died. She watched while the old people stopped the clocks and put sheets on the mirrors. She watched while these women cried and the men stared at their Sunday shoes. But she could sit still no more. So you can tell in this picture they're very sad. But look at Zora. What's Zora going to do? Where's she going? To her favorite tree. Zora ran from the house and ran all the way to the Chinaberry tree. From the top of the tree, Zora saw again the world her mother had given her. The lake filled with fish, the cities where she could tell people all she had learned beside the campfires. And Zora promised her mother that she would never stop climbing and would always reach for the newborn sky and always jump at the morning sun. Author's note: this is a real little girl. This is a real story. Zora Hurston was born in 1891. Well, we knew it was a long time ago because we saw wagons in some of the pictures, huh? She grew up in Eatonville, Florida, the first all-black incorporated town in America. At an early age, she was exposed to the rich oral tradition of her community, stories and songs and folk tales that celebrated African American life. Zora attended Howard University and Barnard College, where she studied anthropology. She traveled throughout the South, recording the folk tales of her people. She published these stories in a collection called Mules and Men. Zora was also the author of many works of fiction. Her most famous novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, is a classic African American literature. So the little girl was a real little girl. And she went on to write all the stories of all the stories she heard from when she was a kid. She kept out those stories alive because she wrote them down. Isn't that a pretty story with really pretty pictures? I like learning about Zora Hurston. Well, tomorrow we'll be back at school, okay? And we'll get back to reading The Watsons Go to Birmingham, our chapter book. But tomorrow it's going to be really cold. The streets will probably be okay for the buses and for us to get to school. But tomorrow I want to see y'all wearing gloves and scarves and hats and anything warm you can find, okay? Because I want y'all to be really warm when we get to school because it's going to be cold outside. It's going to be another really cold morning. And then guess what? By next week, we'll be back to being warm and playing outside again. Don't you love living in Mississippi? Well, I will see y'all bright and early tomorrow morning. Love y'all. Miss y'all. We'll see y'all early in the morning, okay? Bye.